I mean, it just feels like Gamers for God were one step ahead at every time. And for a team that's relatively new, a team that's coming into Heavy League with big question marks about their expectations, they're performing and they're setting up critically for objectives, which we talked about, of course, all throughout the desk earlier today. That means, though, it is time for Game 3. Similar situation here. Morgana's going to be taken away, though. New Age Frost don't want to let that one through, but Diana and Shen, Yasuo, all bans. We fully expect to see that Yasuo not going to be able to go to Rio. The question is, what does he get? Is it an early game champion like the Lucian, or is it a late game scaler like Victor? That, to me, honestly, is not only the indicator for where this team goes throughout their play style for Game 3, but honestly, it might be an indicator of a win or loss.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I would like to see just more agency on Rio's champion here. You know, Victor is a champion who's very strong. He's good in team fights, but at the end of the day, the agency on the champion for the first 20 minutes is very low, right? You need to stay at range. You need to poke. You need to sort of play fights in sort of the proper or kind of safer manner. And I think your agency really comes much later on. By the time later on was in that game, you know, everyone else didn't have any agency. So I want to see him on something that can really make a difference in the skirmishes, can make a difference in sort of the early to mid game, and really help New Age close it out as the drafts do come in here. It is that Diana taken away again. Morgana off the table here for New Age. So they don't want to see them back on that one. The Tristana also taken away. They get their Udyr, but they will lose the Renekton for it once again. And I tell you what, man, Solo was an absolute hero on that in game number 2. So a little surprised they let that one back in. And oh my God. Okay.
You thought the Morgana did a lot of damage on those ganks in mid lane? This one's gonna hurt like double the pain here. That is a classic bread and butter duo. I'm sure everyone has felt this pain before. You get point click stun, there comes the spear, bada bing, bada boom. Half your health bar is gone, if not the entirety of it.
No.
New Age Frost thinking about playing the Lucian. Let DJ and I advise you against this.
Don't do this.
Die.
Don't do this.
They did it. Maybe he thinks he can outplay, right? If you never get point and click stunned, there's a chance that you can dodge. I don't know. Flash is a deadly weapon, man. That's gonna hurt. I don't know.
What do you mean? You never get point and click stunned? Point and click stunned. That's literally like.
I mean, you got range. You like
no. This could be very, very rough. Now, this Renekton could still go into the top side, of course. This could be Potato's problem, but I do have a severe issue with picking Lucian into Renekton Nidalee. You could pick Lucian into Renekton and try to dominate the lane. This feels like a rough one for me, because this is clearly just set up to kill people under turrets, and you are the squishiest human being ever as a Lucian. Like, you're just going to die. I mean, you're just going to die if this is mid lane. It's a point and click stun. You flash W, you kill him. Once Stridebreaker comes in, you flash Stridebreaker. Like, you can't get out of this. Like, you can't get out of this chain. If this is played right by Gamers for God, I'm convinced Rio dies 5 times in the opening 22 minutes.
I definitely agree that this is not looking great. And with the Kai'Sa lock-in, it definitely has to be going into a solo lane. But of course, Renekton is always going to go into a solo lane, so he's just going to match wherever this Lucian is. I will say that if you time everything perfectly, you play your spacing pixel perfect, Lucian can outplay. There is a possibility where you predict their flash, or you flash react within an instant, so they can't get the W off. Or even if you get stunned, you're too far away, so the spear combination, everything doesn't work out perfectly. With a Malphite lock-in as well, your job is just so difficult. It feels like you're drafting against ease of execution and against, this late game scaling identity where you can just sit back, play passive, and win. You can't do that on Lucian. And now you have to go face first into a Renekton, into an Nidalee, into a Malphite with that short range AD carry. New Age Frost certainly making it hard on themselves here. We can get into the second phase of ban. Sivir, Lulu taken away, Kayle and Silas all off the board, but I'm worried, DJ. I don't feel like it was maybe game 1 or even game 2 jitters. It may just be, I don't know. There's a lot of things that have question marks in my mind now.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the rest of the draft is here. I can see what New Age is going for. Certainly in the earliest levels, Lucian should have prio, unless, of course, the level 3 gank comes in here, which could be a possibility. But you will push that lane, right? Up until the point at which Stride Breaker is in. And if you are ahead, of course, you're going to be in a very strong position. They also have 280 carries already drafted for themselves. They've also taken Kaisa away from Josh, who did excel on that champion in the last game. So I do like at least the skirmishing setup here so far for New Age. Kaisa can just come over the top on the stun. Okay. A Vladimir in here that's likely going to be in the top lane. You could put it mid and put Lucian top, of course, and I do believe that Lucian is something that Potato can play, so we'll have to see what this is. If it is a Vladimir, I'm a little concerned that you don't give Rio, again, a whole lot of agency in the early game, but if it is a Vladimir on the top side, I think it should be just fine into Malphite. It's pretty much a free lane, and you can just scale up for late game, so New Age going to round it out with the Thresh. That will be Chasers once again. So clearly Gamers for God not too worried about it, despite his excellence on the champion. And I kind of like the skirmishing here. The team fighting's okay. Let's see what Gamers for God round out with here. Jhin for more long range. Galio for Blase. That is a favorite of his. Decent amount of comfort coming out here. And
yeah, they're sacrificing the lane matchup here for the Galio. I mean, you just flay the taunt every time, but you understand why you want the Galio, right? You just go over top. It doesn't matter about the laning phase at this point. Jin's going to be 5 miles back shooting out his ultimate forced shot while Malphite and Galio go rinse the rest of the team. So New Age Frost, I'll say they have to play this well. They have to outplay. There's no, easy win button, at least until Vladimir gets 3 items. And then maybe you can think about one-shotting a member or 2. But New Age Frost, they have to win their lanes again. They have to find advantages because Gamers for God have won this team fight draft. If you're looking for full-on 5v5s, it doesn't get much easier than this composition.
Yeah, I think their composition last game was a little easier for 5v5, but I still think it's easier than New Age's. You drafted the Kaisa into a team without a whole lot of CC. I think Udyr stun, probably the only thing you have going for you, if I'm not mistaken here in this composition. Yes, you have the second 80 carry, but who's really peeling for you? Like, Udyr is not the tankiest champion in the late game. It's more a speed and rotation kind of champion, right? It's not quite a Scion or anything like that. Thresh does have some peel and some safety, but there's 2 targets to potentially keep safe. And you can't follow up on Vladimir engage, right? Like, yes, Vlad can go into the enemy uncontested, but you can't dive in on top of him with Kaisa. There's no CC there. You don't get a proc of your passive. So it does feel a little weird in terms of 5v5 team fight here for New Age Frost, whereas, yes, it's a Nidalee this time around, not as much of a team fighter as last game, but, Malphite, Renekton, pretty easy. You get the you get the curtain call over the top from Jhin. You get Galio on top of Renekton. It seems a lot easier to play the 5v5s, and we do see the Vladimir going top and this Lucian going mid, and yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Rio's going to have to play so well. Yeah. He's going to have to play so well Necrox, because I feel like the entirety of this composition from New Age depends on them getting ahead and getting into a 1-3-1 where they can't answer Vladimir, where they can't answer Lucian, and then you really can just tear them apart on the map. But honestly, Rio has so much to do because he has to get there, and he's going to be the target. Like, you're not going to target a Vladimir that has pool in top lane. It's going to be... Every flash is going to be reserved for him. Every empowered W is going to be reserved for him, and the spears are going to follow up. If he missed positions once or twice in lane, he will die 5 times, and this game will be unplayable for him.
And again, Lucian isn't one of those champions that you can afford to go down. Rio, he was winning on a matchup that we didn't expect him to win earlier on. Yes, you can get the Ras in the early levels, but stayed alive critically on the Victor. Lucian has a little bit less safety. You've got a dash this time, but you don't have gravity well. You don't have extra bits of movement speed here and there. Yes, you have the W movement speed that you can proc, but it's nothing like a Victor who can peel for himself. So Rio, all eyes are on you this time, but Dumpstered has a very easy game plan and very easy pathing sit out. You basically ignore top lane. You let that happen as so be it. If Potato is super far extended up and you're level 6, maybe you can make a play up there with the Malphite ulti, but really you're headed mid, you're headed bot lane. Blase is going to move around. He's going to leave Josh to solo farm in this lane once again. He's going to help these mid lane efforts as well. He's going to help control this bot side river, and New Age Frost need to outplay. The distinct lack of a front line here is something that you have to keep an eye on, because whoever Saucy wants to go on with that Malphite ult is probably just dead within half a second.
Yeah, and again, that is extra setup for Nidalee, right, in the later stage of the game. I completely agree with you that Dumpster's pathing should be to mid, it should be to bot. There's a lot of gank setup for him in the early game, which is what Nidalee needs, really, right? Setup is so good on Nidalee, it makes her a much more effective champion, and you'll have a little bit extra of that when this Malphite ult is up at level 6. Obviously, you don't really want to go onto Protato, but everyone else, fair game here. You hop onto Array, you hop onto to Rio, you make their life very, very difficult, along with Solo, once again, who was absolutely monstrous on this Renekton in game number 1, despite being in a range versus melee matchup in mid lane. I expect him to be able to play that one out again this time, and he does, and he will definitely have the help of his junglers. So I have to say it, I really like what Gamers of God have done here. I think New Age has made this very, very hard on themselves, and I really think it is going to require a Herculean effort here from Rio, from Protato in the later stage of the game to win out on this one.
We know New Age likes to warm up as they get further and further into a series after an unfortunate game 1 FF, maybe, I guess. I mean, you get a free win, but you never got your chance to warm up. So now it comes down to game 2/game 3, really, on the win-loss columns. And New Age, well, you've had your time in game 2. It was close. It was a long one, an absolute banger. You got every fight you could have asked for, but now it's time to pull out one final real dub for the evening. Gamers for God, though, looking to right and push their mark here on Heavy League. They will fight you at every corner, and they are willing to get down to Clown earlier on. We'll see, though, who comes on top on game 3 and take themselves a 2-1 in our block of 3. DJ and I are just about done. We'll see you after this final game, and we'll be here with an interview. But during the ref, you'll hear the beautiful voices of RMC and Dia, who cover the action. We'll be right back after a short break.
How could you do it to this man?
I was gonna say that everyone was calling me delusional.
Sometimes you take a bunch of damage so that you can deal a bunch of damage.
Going back there, that's gonna be sub pushed way far back, but what are you doing? Gonna get caught on out. JDK gonna get stunned on up, and now it's
Get you in 2 seconds. Nice.
so much damage.
There's
One out of that saves. You take it out of. Look at this.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting into game 2 here. RMC, if game 1 was any indicator, this I'm looking for a level 1 as well, because that got the game off to a great start for Gamers for God, and this time the analyst desk said it well, that this is another great composition from them, and I would say even better than their game 1 plan, or game 2, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Partially, I also think it's the way New Age drafted here with their draft, making it feel like Gamers is a little bit stronger here. And I love the reaction we're seeing from New Age here. The fact that they got invaded game 1. They're not invading. They're just 5 stacking here. But it does mean that their top side is exposed. They don't know if it's going to get invaded here. And they're kind of gambling away their level 1.
And right now, no counter vision is going to be placed, so at least you've got that little bit of thanking your lucky stars, or thanking God, as the case may be, to do. But we are, or rather, I am looking very specifically at exactly what you point out, that effect that being able to spot out the jungler should have on the remainder of the game, because this is a very jungle-centric game, oddly enough.
I mean, you say oddly. I see nothing odd about that.
I mean, like, it's not something that we often see, right? Renekton Nidalee isn't often drafted anymore.
True. Yeah, I think Nidalee definitely caught us by surprise a little bit. But Renekton Nidalee is just so strong here when you can get them paired together. And I don't care which lane you put it in. Yes, mid lane is a shorter lane, but it doesn't matter. It might be a shorter lane, but your health bar is shorter as well. So the damage that can pop out is very nice. And personally, I'm happy to see a more jungle-centric game where the junglers are looking to gank, and it's not just the usual, farm up junglers, and then the junglers become important, but like at 10 minutes into the game sort of feel.
Yeah, right now we are getting still the junglers on their first clear, though, and we're not getting the shenanigans like last game, which I already kind of missed because I really liked the way that Age King was able to take control of that chaos, but for now, a slower early game and even a slower mid-game does feel like it'll favor New Age Frost. If they can sort of escape from what should be a very strong mid-area unscathed.
Not going to be quiet for long, Dia. You can already see Dumpster here. As you said, they do fall behind, so here we go.
Oh my god, already into the mid lane, though. Rio does burn the cleanse, which might get him out alive there, but the final spear coming in is going to secure the first blood. You said it yourself, they start this so early.
And it's, DJ as a Necrox are talking about that spear, you got to be careful about that spear, but it's not the first spear only that you got to watch out. There's multiple spears. Array roaming up with Chaser here.
That is a really good cleanup kill as well, shutting down Dumpster right after he got a kill. It doesn't solve the problem with the Nidalee, but it gives you a new problem as Gamers for God that you have to address on top of wanting to get your Nidalee ahead.
Does, however, mean that they've lost control of the bot lane almost completely here by roaming out. The saving grace is that the bot lane wave isn't going to get frozen on them, so it will push out. But if I was Dumpster, I'd want revenge back in that bot lane here. Go down and take advantage of the fact that your bot lane's in control.
And remember, you have Blase here as well. He might not be on the Nautilus, but that guy is going to engage for you, and there's no vision to spot out Dumpsters as he goes in here. Blase is going to flash for the taunt here, forces at least one, but Array doesn't have his, and it's going to have to be the final lantern that doesn't quite get it. I was hoping that Dark Passage would be able to save him. Unfortunately for him, it's not so.
Hoping and praying, Dia? Wrong team. It's Gamers for God who've got everything going their way here. Their prayers are answered, and that's exactly what we wanted to see here in the bot side. Well, that's also another interesting fight. Would love to cast that another day, but
also this.
But for now, it's smaller skill action, but more significant early game action coming through for Gamers for God versus New Age Frost.
Yeah, after our peek into an alternate dimension, we'll return to this one where Dragon is spawning pretty shortly as well, and that was a big point of contention in that first game. I do want to see how, with a very jungle-centric composition, Gamers for God potentially address that problem this time around.
For Gamers for God here, Nidalee isn't known as one of the junglers who can kind of solo Dragon comfortably in the early stages of the game. So I expect to see them focus a lane first, either find a kill, because bot and mid, as we've seen, both are very great for getting kills in, and then get a kill or force them back, and then go for Dragon safely here. Ideally, you'd also want to try and catch Age King out, because Udyr is really scary, and I just cannot help but remember that game 2, Baron steal by Age King.
Yeah, this is the utility that you can sort of rely on from him, and you can also rely on him not to fall asleep during the early stages of the game. And I don't mean that as a joke. I mean it as a genuine point of respect, because if you watch just there, even against Italy, he's still going on the invade, still takes away the Raptors, and this time Chaser's roamed up to get a little autonomy himself. Unfortunately, it doesn't result in a kill though, and Dumpster is able to get away, absorbing pressure as a jungler.
Yeah, I kind of like the roams that we're seeing coming out of Chaser and Array here. Yes, the first one did cost them, but Array is able to play very, very safely on this Kai'Sa right now, up CS despite the 1v2 situation, and obviously Chaser not hurting the bot lane pressure at all whatsoever. Now, Dragon, potentially doable here. Rio did want to base there, pardon me, and I think that the minions actually did catch him out, and that was the trigger for that Dragon call.
And as it goes down, it's going to be just the first one here. Chaser lands a hook to delay the inevitable, as the Ocean Drake is going to give you some nice stats for the laning phase, especially helping out Saucy up here.
Saucy, we've not really talked about this top lane because there's not much to say, right? Vladimir just wants to farm. Malphite isn't exactly kill potential. Even at level 6, maybe you've got a bit, but against a Vlad, it's still very, very difficult to land. So you're just trying to lane right now, both of them trying to farm up. But for Saucy, for Gamers for God, you don't want to let this top lane prolong for too long. You do want to make some sort of action happen and get Saucy to the fights instead. Because if you just sit in the long lane, Potato is going to enjoy the slow farm, will become a bigger monster than Malphite.
And something that I think is a really nice way of being able to address these sorts of problems is a way that Gamers for God can already play to at this point, is by putting people and attention into the bot lane a lot like they did in game 2, and getting that snowballing so that you can take the turret, move it up to the top side, and start dictating where the top laners have to be on the map. That's a great way to take away autonomy that isn't ganks, because ganks realistically on a Vladimir are going to be very difficult to pull off.
Yeah, those spears probably not going to, well, nothing probably going to land on that pull from either of them here. Now, we do see a lot of attention to the mid lane. Once again, both supports are in the area. And I do want to point out that Blase is actually under-leveled right now.
Yes, although I'm wondering how much it's going to matter here, since he's going to be able to join up, has the double taunt, and Solo gets to absorb a little bit of pressure there because he has the backup. And meantime, Josh is getting free farm in the bot lane. And not just free farm, free XP as well.
Oh, Age King is here as well. So this is real risky of a taunt.
That's a Blase classic right there. An over-engage doesn't find anyone, though, and he's going to end up falling. Gamers for God do have to rein in that aggression from their support.
And once again, it's the whole thing where literally Blase goes in, Jessa, Solo, and Dumpster are walking away. And Justice Punch is a one-way ticket. You go in, you do not come back out, so you need your homies at your back there. It is unfortunate for Blase, but thankfully it's not going to affect anybody else too much here. Rio gets a kill, but Solo was already struggling in the 1v1 here, and if Dumpster shows up, that one kill isn't going to change anything in the 2v1.
I tell you what, it could be the really big strat where you just run it into mid lane and hope that works. Remember we talked about ganking topside though, because that's a conversation that I very much recall, and I recall saying that it wouldn't really work out. Spear's going to go wide, but still ends up working out there. 3 people is going to be enough.
We were talking about a jungle gank going up there. They did not just send their jungler, they sent Solo up there as well. They were really piling it on, and
yet another peek into an alternate dimension. I love it. Like, I know that on the back end of this, our producer's tripping out too. He's like, "What is happening with this Baron replay?" Right now, though, I think it's fair that we replay it in our heads, because we did bring 3 people all the way up there, and something that we didn't get the chance to touch on too much is that this time it is punished by New Age Frost. Last time in Game 2, we saw a lot of Gamers for God roaming and not being punished at all. This time, Rio at least gets some free farm, and H-King considers a gank into the bot lane.
And with 3 people, this dive a little risky. Rio was down there. If they had 4, they could pull the dive. So really well played from Joshi and Blase to know exactly when to walk back on the turret. And with that vision onto H-King there, they're going to be able to pick up the Herald here, which is not only great for plates, but also for this Nyx Dragon coming up in 1 minute. We've seen it time and time again. You drop in mid, you use that pressure, and you usually get 1 charge off while you also get the dragon in your pocket.
Solo's doing it again, by the way. He walks over to that Rift Herald, gives over farm in the mid lane to get Dumpstered ahead, and it feels almost like that funnel comp of old. Not because he's giving his farm over to Nidalee, but because he's using the farm leads and the advantage that Nidalee gets him to transition back into Nidalee pressure. It's just charitable donations everywhere, and it's playing to exactly what Gamers for God's win conditions were in the draft here, but in a way that many teams would be afraid to do.
Oh, but there is a cost to all of this. In game 1, we lauded Gamers for God for not falling behind in their lanes while making all these objective plays. Here in game 3, it's not the case. They are starting to fall behind. There is a clear lead in every single lane right now. Even in the jungle, H-King is actually up in farm here. And that is not what you want to see, because the scaling for Gamers for God is not as good as the scaling from New Age Frost here. Yes, they have the engage. Yes, they've got the team fight, but scaling matters as well, because if they're far ahead enough, if they're just stronger, you can engage all you want. He'll be right there waiting for you.
And 2,000 gold lead right now for New Age Frost already shows the fruits of their labor. Gamers for God, though, looking to harvest a little bit more around this dragon. Just off composition alone, are going to try and secure this. H-King, I don't think will go for the steal, since it is just the singular Cloud Drake, but it should be noted that he's in the area here. At the very least, New Age Frost considered going for this play.
That's the difference between Volibear and Udyr. Here, Volibear's got a backup to get over the wall, even if your flash is down. Udyr does not. There was a blast cone, but kind of risky. There is a delay, and Rio, I do want to point out how well Rio is playing this right now. Rio is up in a lane that should be very, very difficult to play, and you can see is controlling the lanes until that spear.
Dumpster, yeah, dumpster hurts so much. I love how you make your entire point and you're like, oh man, but spear though, it really do be changing the game, and so much of the game at the moment is going to rely on whether that spear lands or not. In top lane, it just does not. Brotato should be able to get away here. Has the phase rush on the Vladimir. He's being chased down, but another spear goes wide. Dumpster and Saucy are all over him. No pool means looks like no escape. Saucy ends up picking up the kill, while Solo is getting a little bit of assist from Blase in the mid lane. Array shows up to try and answer this back, finally picks up the kill. Blase, between the two towers, is playing with his life here. The race coming in as well. I think they can turn this around, but it's going to require a lot. Blase flashes, has a very weird Justice Punch, but he also lives. Well, there's a weird Jhin ult channeled here. Chaser likely going to go down here, but fourth shot doesn't connect, and I gotta ask myself, what is going on?
Okay, I don't know how that started. I'm sure we'll get a replay, but I know how it ended, and that was illegal. You should not be allowed to dive like that in between the turrets and win. Thankfully, they didn't win. Gamers for God comes out ahead, and hey, here we go. Here's the dive here. You can see the zone out onto Solo, and this is good. This is great. We saw this in the bot lane already. Really well played, but you have to remember there's a Galio, and that's the problem. It's not a 1v3. It's a 2v3, and if you 2v3 dive right now against this comp, you're not safe. You're not clean. And I was worried here for a second that Chaser was going to get out, because you shouldn't be able to when you're that deep in and there's everybody around you.
I really want to. I know that we can't, but if I could, I would just take it back and slow down that series of plays in the mid lane so that I could understand why Blase flashed into Array, then Justice punched up to... it just leaves me absolutely mind-boggled. But it's Gamers for God, and I love it. They're going for another dive up here, and Saucy this time has a stopwatch, which buys him a little bit of time. Even invest the ultimate and the flash to get away. H-King goes really low here, but doesn't go down. Dumpster should be able to clean this up, though, and that spear spells his demise.
20 health. That was how low Saucy got there. And that was after the Hemo Plague tick. So unfortunate for Potato there. And Potato Senpai really does want to get some kills. Yes, he's been farming up a storm. That's good. But on a play like that, on a dive like that, to not be able to pick up a kill just absolutely hurts. And I hope that the mental here for New Age Frost is good. We've heard Chase's mental is good, but is Potato and H-King's mental just as good here?
Twice in a row now, too. These tower dives, the ability to outplay them, that's the power of faith, RMC. And Solo is going to be relying on it one more time as he gets cullinged to the face here with 1 minute and 40 seconds on this next dragon. These mid lane skirmishes are going to become more and more crucial as they'll start setting us up for what is sole point and likely the time when Gamers for God will fly or die.
There is a bit of a timer here for Gamers for God. Right now, they are still down in gold, despite being up 4 kills, up 2 dragons, up a herald here. So you can see that they're still struggling. Solo.
Yeah, gets dove one more time. Age King almost goes down here, but Potato should be able to finish off the kill. Great flash from Solo, though. Absorbs pressure from 3 and still doesn't go down at the end of all of that. And look at the collapse map wide. We're going to see another circus, it seems like. Dumpster, not going to quite land the spear. Does he have the damage? Yes, he does! The teleport was invested too, and Potato is so sad right now.
There was an attempt, Dia. And I respect Potato for it. There was an attempt. But I have to question it. You already failed the mid dive, 3v1, or 4v2 if you want to consider it that way. This time, everybody's peeling off. What was the call that Potato still wanted to go in? And you can see that the collapse comes through. If everybody's mid, there's no pressure on the side lanes to contain that Jhin, contain that Galio.
Well, that's the problem that we had in game 1. I may have to hold the point, though, as we're moving into the Dragon, where very quickly Rio is going to end up falling. Saucy, interestingly, picks up the kill. Chaser lands the best hook he's going to get, and Dumpster flashes to secure it there. He's got the Galio in his back pocket, and H-King goes so low here. The Jhin ultimate finds one, doesn't quite get Chaser here, but under the tower is Dumpster, and he's going to pick up yet another kill, finally going down to the tower, but it is still a Gamers for God wipe around this Drake.
I mean, there's a bounty on Dumpster. It just went over to Chaser. That's a lot of gold in the pocket of your support when you need it on your carries here. And right off the bat for Rio here, looking for the pick, it's so risky. The collapse is coming in and Rio doesn't know. And I honestly thought he was dead right. I didn't think he was going to get over the wall. Does barely manage to do that. Doesn't even matter though. This, I think it was Seismic Shard, which ended up picking that one up. And after that, like this, anything after that was just gratuitous at that point.
He died with Flash and Cleanse Up too, which is just absolutely tragic. And this is sorry, to return to the point that I do think is really important. So I'm going to do the terrible play-by-play thing and pull it all the way back to a color point that I want to do. Potato going for that dive in the mid lane. Remember when that happened way back in history here before the Infernal Dragon? That's symptomatic of exactly the problem that we pointed out in game 1, that Potato is so often the person whose job it is to initiate and carry the fight. Right there, he's literally trying to 1v everyone. And Gamers for God, they're the ones that are playing as a team.
For the side of New Age Frost, I mean, that is one of the deficiencies in this composition is who's engaging for you here. If you're relying on Age King to do all the work, you're only going to catch one person, and you're not going to catch their carries most likely unless Dumpstered, well, pulls a Dumpstered and over engages once again here. But if you're relying on your opponent's mistakes, that's very risky here.
Nice pickup in the mid lane, though. Does get a single tower for New Age Frost. Interestingly enough, also the first turret of the game is a little bit more injection into Rio here. We'll see if Gamers for God can answer it back, but the Dark Passage will keep him alive. Chaser's thinking of turning this around, and I'm not sure what this posturing is about. Is this all for Array right now? Because that is the most upset AD. He's still got Flash and Heal.
Burning absolutely everything. And look at Saucy.
Saucy teleports into what a disaster. And Array still likely is going to get out there as the Dark Passage. Dumpster is jumping on Age King in the backfield. Misses the spear and may have just overextended. It's a big problem here. He's got the backup with the Galio to survive as Blase comes in. They're going to focus down. Array gets a double kill for Dumpster. The damage is just too much.
Array, you've got to respect that damage. They thought for a second that Array could get out the other side. No, you can't. That's Dumpster. He's 6, 2, and 4. Now 7 after he picks up that kill. And props to Potato. I know Potato doesn't have an option, doesn't have TP, but Potato calmly just pushes on here. When everything's going to hell in a handbasket, he kept calm and carried on.
Games for God still at a goal deficit, by the way. That's the casual story of this game, is them going
Not
even
anymore.
or behind. Yeah, there we go. Finally, we get a 300 gold lead for Gamers for God, the team that has been dominating the entire game here, that are on sole point at 20 minutes into the game, but finally they have a gold lead. There we go.
This is why gold as a stat, Dia, is so misleading, because it's such a conditional stat. It tells you who's ahead, kind of, but until you actually bank that gold, spend the gold on items here, it doesn't mean anything. And more importantly, especially for this game, majority of this gold lead is sitting on Potato Senpai. So, or not say gold lead, but the gold balancing is on Potato Senpai. So if Potato doesn't rotate to the fights, all the gold on your team doesn't matter.
And imagine, it's even worse if he's getting caught out in the side lane, right? And that's exactly what's happening right now. The pool's only going to save him for so long. Big heal comes in, and he might be able to turn it around, but he doesn't even get the single kill onto Saucy in response. And New Age Frost lose their carry again in a side lane.
It's a 1-for-2 out trade, flash and ignite burn for Solo here, but all of those are just potential hypotheticals here, Dia. I said, that you tried to sell me Gamers for God on a lot of potential. Well, right now it's looking like New Age Frost tried to sell me on a lot of potential. I didn't buy it then. I ain't buying it now.
No, and you know what? They're still going to sit on it, though, because, as we mentioned, they do have a real nice scaling to come in later. And I know it's a dirty word, but at this point, you're kind of relying on it because your ability to make plays is very limited. You talked about the amount of engagement they do not have. Right now, it is really punishing them.
Oh my goodness, and that's pure Dia. We saw it on Rio, on Array. It's the same thing. Half your health. And Baron is on the table. In game 2, I was screaming, stop doing Baron, because it's bad. But this time, I think they can actually go for it. They've got the ability to poke out anybody who wants to walk in here. You don't have a real tank. Even Age King loses probably 1/3 of their health. And now that the Unstoppable Force is up for Saucy, they don't have to finish the Baron. They can use it as bait and just turn around and kill people.
This dragon is so important, though, because if Gamers for God get this, the snowball is complete. They've managed to get themselves the Infernal, which is probably the best thing they could possibly get for Dumpster right now, and they're getting positioning on it, despite the fact that New Age Frost are there first. Teleport comes in, and New Age Frost have to fight right now. Blaze's gonna engage first, though, gets a taunt onto Potato, and he's locked down, has to cool early, and it's still going to be focused by Josh. In the backside, Dumpster, as we expected, is soloing out everybody else, and Solo is doing his work in the mid lane. A double kill goes to Nidalee. A double kill should go to Solo, and it's going to be the Dragon secured by New Age Frost, and ostensibly the Baron as well.
That was a work of art to watch from start to finish there. So well played. And it all starts off with Blase going in, taunting up Potato immediately when the fight starts. Potato shows up. Guess what? You don't do anything. You're forced out. And then now watch Saucy. Saucy dives the back line and keeps everybody out. It's perfect assignment of who does what. And they ace with everybody above 50% health.
It's kind of crazy because Blase gets to do this thing, and so does Saucy, where they go, hey, by the way, Dumpster, I'm going to be here, and nobody is going to be able to do anything about you while I'm here. Why don't you join me? And Dumpster goes, absolutely. I would love to kill people in your area. Jumps right on in, and honestly, he's hitting his skill shots, but he's only hitting like half of them because at this point, a 7, 8, 9 kill Nidalee doesn't need to be doing all the work when Solo, Saucy, and Blase are backing him up.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, despite the 9, 2, and 4, it's not necessarily Dumpster doing all the sustained damage. Solo on this Renekton has proven to be an absolute monster. An interesting stat when preparing for this game was that Solo has not played a single champion more than once before tonight. 7 games, 7 unique champions. Tonight...
Oh my god! Oh my god! It even looks like the lantern is for Dumpster there because you can't imagine that Illusion would survive that long. Burns the Zanya's under the tower here, and he's going to be able to get away after all of that, giving another kill to his AD carry, and the Curtain Call gets channeled after that. God, it is just cyberbullying at this point.
I'm in shock, dude. I forgot the point I was going to make. Because it didn't even matter. That spear just blew me out the water there. 100-0 on Rio. And I know DJ said 5 deaths for Lucian before I think it was 20 minutes. We're almost there. And while it might be a little bit late, I have no doubt if another spear lands, Dempster makes that up 5 minutes later.
Yeah, we're going to see them be rolling in quick and fast here if New Age Frost can't find a way very quickly to amend what has been going on this entire game. The problem is that even though Lucian didn't die 5 times, look who did. Both the only engage that you have and your carry.
I mean, those are tankier members here against that Nidalee spear, against some of that Jin poke. Not there. Now, with Baron, they're just shoving this. They already took 1 inhib. They can easily take this. And Potato and H-King have to be careful. If they are around when the turret goes down, they're dead.
Oh, this is interesting though. Unstoppable Force was invested backwards, and so was Blaze's ultimate.
Oh.
Solo's going to go down in the front line, and it's the best team fight that New Age Frost have gotten all game, but they can't follow it up through these Baron minions, through the spears. Potato is on the flanks trying to make it happen. Gamers for God are going to give that one up for lost here.
Okay, I was wrong. I thought they just turned and burned, but I guess they ate a little bit too much turret damage here. The inhibitor is still up. They're not defending it. Potato?
No.
Potato, you need to run back now.
This is funny. Gamers forgot. They just go, oh, I guess you were wanting to clear your mid lane, so I will just do this now. Chaser goes in and is going to regret it very quickly. Potato's on the flank, though, and that could be a big problem. Josh goes in to try and finish off the kills, and Blaze is the one that ends up picking it up. Gets a knock up onto a Ray as well, forcing the flash, and it might not be enough to save his life as Kaisa is going to go down. Dumpstered is chasing H-King all the way to his fountain, and this should be the end of the game.
This is a rather unexpected ending for Media. I didn't think that inhibitor was going to cost them everything, but that's what happens if you hesitate. Either give it up or go in for it. If you kind of half and half it here, it's going to cost you. Can H-King stall long enough?
I am going to say no because the tower is already down. Chaser is here and the CC could come through, but the reality is that no matter how much you try now, you had to say your prayers before. Gamers for God, they recognize and they take you down.
Really well played here from G4G. It is going to end 2-1 for them here because of that game one, which we didn't get to see. And I'm a little sad that we didn't get to see that, Dia, because they were pretty clean here in games 2 and 3.
The game one that nobody got to see, by the way. I just want to say, it wasn't off stream. It just didn't occur. Otherwise, we definitely would have been there. But I'm right there with you, RMC. I'm so sad that we didn't get to see them perform like this again.
Yeah, I mean, and they cleaned up. Game 2 was kind of messy in that they kept picking fights and Baron was super bad for them. But this game 3, they cleaned it right up. We saw the only Baron attempt they really made. They already killed everyone. It was a clean ace before they went there. So they were guaranteed to pick that up. They get the Infernal at the same time here and just very methodical closeout. Going forward, I think teams facing Gamers for God have to respect that this is not necessarily a weak team. They have weaknesses, but they are not a weak team. And Renekton banned, man. Seven games played before this. Renekton banned 6 times. That wasn't banned at all this series. Picked every single time. Blind.
Yeah, and Gamers for God as well. You mentioned that they're very much not a weak team, though they do have weaknesses. I want to highlight that they came into this series with a growth mindset as well, going, we're still working on some of these things, and they still had such a dominant series. It's going to be even more important for them as they go forward, though, because their strength of schedule is muy strong.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough here. Let me see if I can pull up who they're running into the next little while. So Gamers for God running into AoE God Squad after this, who we saw, I believe, last week, absolutely crushed it, who flashed that fight, who's been dominating the league, and then Lotus. So definitely a bit of a hard one to play through here, but I believe that even if they do lose, failure is the mother of success, and with that growth mindset here, I'm sure Gamers for God will only get stronger from here, and if they do, playoff form is going to be real interesting.
Yeah, as we look towards those playoffs, though, as we wrap up for the night, I want to send this over to our analyst desk very quickly before an interview so that we can break everything down before we bring these guys in for a little bit of trash talk.